Hello and welcome to another drive-in double feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into that, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/ drive-in double feature podcast. Uh, you know, Nobody really talked to me about the Patreon today. It was really quite sad.
That is
I,
sad.
I so wanted to tell somebody about how great it is. It's only $5 a month, and you get all kinds of fun flick fights. You get fun conversations, and it's only $5 a month, which doesn't affect any regular content. But I I, we spent a lot of money into that advertising campaign, so I'm hoping it's paying off.
I hope so. That was otherwise we're bankrupt.
Well, I mean that's people pay us to do the podcast, and then we use that, so we're fine.
Okay, okay.
But today we are talking about 1975's Inframan or Super Inframan or Chinese Superman, directed by
What?
Hua Shan. That's an alternate title, Chinese Superman,
Chinese Superman. I gotta love it.
which is not what you would expect at all. But
I'm
um,
looking at the poster right now. It does. I mean, that's a big old Superman logo
that's a
there.
Superman S. It's the literal meaning is
Uh-huh.
Chinese Superman,
Love it.
like the little Chinese scripture or whatever you want to call it. But
Mhm.
um, but no, this movie starts out in the far off future of 2015. So
Wow.
this is what we were just living like, not even 10 years ago. That was 9 years ago.
Oh
So I mean
God.
that's what it all looked like back then.
I think I remember 2015. I think I remember a lot of this.
Yeah, I had my red suit on, or like, I went into like the laboratory with my like silver jumpsuit on. It was great.
Yeah, I remember like the giant random fires that happened in China out of
Mhm.
nowhere.
You mean what's still going on?
Yeah, yeah.
But no, yeah, this movie is set in the future. The movie does start with the princess Beelzebub,
Mhm.
or Dragon Mom, Princess Dragon Mom in the English
Yeah,
version.
love it.
Yeah, and she awakens after 10 million years, saying, "I'm going to take over the world, and there's nothing you can do to stop me." So, and she's got her own little legion. It's just like Power Rangers almost.
No,
It's
no, it was crazy you picked this because like I went in like, oh, we're doing a Godzilla knockoff. Oh no, this is just Power Rangers. I mean, it's not even a knockoff, but yeah, I mean, it's just like silly creature, silly like not giant creatures, but just silly creatures in suits. You got a lady, evil lady, and you got like almost a Power Ranger type guy fighting them.
well, yeah, and she's
I
even got like minions that look like the Putty Men or whatever from.
Yeah. It's but this is more based off of like God, what are they called? They're kind of like Jet Jaguar, like where it's like
Like, well, the Power Rangers, they were called in Japan. They're called Sentai or whatever, like Super Sentai.
okay, got you. Yeah, it just it feels like
Oh, like Ultraman.
Ultraman. Yeah, this more feels like more of a riff on Ultraman.
Yeah, and I don't know which one. I don't know what year Ultraman came out, to be honest,
Yeah.
but yeah, this one is definitely like very much in that same vein where it's like the guy has a transformation sequence. He does like little like beams that he does from like hand formations, and
Hmm.
he fights monsters. He can grow big. So it's just like Ultraman. It's pretty much just Chinese Ultraman. Um,
Chinese Superman.
yeah, he does fly, doesn't he?
He flies. I mean, Clark Kent also does transformations.
You get to see this transformation a lot too.
Yeah,
They
they get
they
to
re-
repeat it.
they they do. They want you to make sure you see this transformation
Yeah,
sequence. But
we've covered a few of these Shaw Brothers movies before. I love the way they shoot movies. I think they have a really unique look to them that I like. They're very colorful. This movie just has like a lot of like nice colors to it. I've noticed that's just a very common theme with their movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, even what was it in Dirty Huh or whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
and like that one, I remember that being like a really colorful movie. Like it
Mm-hmm.
just like people would wear like these bright colors, and they would always be like in these bright colored buildings.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of that going on here, but
Yeah,
also it's cheap.
yeah, it's very cheap, but they do what they can. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so to counteract all this, because she's talking about she wants to destroy the world. Like there's a professor, and he's actually created his own like own robot type of thing. So they take like a young up and coming soldier, and they inject him or put in like the Inframan powers. Because like the one thing too is the English version of this one was basically like I forget what they call it. I need to look and see, but they called it something else where it was like they were cashing in on the $1 million man
Oh,
because
they were.
so it
I
was
don't
just
even remember that.
yeah, so it's supposed to be something like, oh, like no, this is the Bionicle Man or whatever.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, and I like how like the volunteer is chosen. It's just like some
Oh,
guy just like I will do it.
so it was called Inframan, um, in the States, but the slogan was the man beyond bionics, which is
Whoa.
which is taking a jab at $6 million man.
Good. It deserves it.
Yeah, screw you, Legion Majors.
Yes. Who would even like that show?
Do you don't think Lee Majors even like the show?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anyone involved in it hated it. I'm just riffing. I don't know. I've never even seen the show.
I haven't either, but yeah, so they do get in there, and like how it starts is she basically has this like rogue gallery of monsters, and they each have their own little special powers.
Hmm.
And one is able to produce like these giant plants, and he's got like tentacle arms and like tentacle like things on his head too.
Hmm.
And
That's the first fight of the movie, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so like he's gone in and like kidnapped like planted in like this like giant plant. It grows through like the laboratory, and it starts like grabbing people and starts throwing them all over the place, and they all have like their little guns and they're shooting it. And
It's so funny that it's real guns, by the way. I don't know. I find that funny that it's like real pistols they're bringing out, not like some weird sci-fi guns or anything.
they just got like found like all these like, okay, they're all unloaded, we promise.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm sure that that sounds dangerous. But yeah, no, and there's just tentacles grabbing people, throwing them around. It explosions everywhere, which is insane in this movie.
That's one thing this movie, if there's anything they probably put their budget in, it's probably like the explosives in this movie. Because oh my god, there is like people would like if you like stubbed your toe in this world, like the table would probably explode.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, like these people are fighting and there's just like stuff exploding that's not even close to them. I just it's crazy. Um it's definitely like one of those movies where it's just like whatever we can do that's crazy, let's just do it. Like the fight scenes, they go like 110%. People are flipping and there's like huge things going on and like Inframan's in the plant scene chopping off plant limbs and it's spewing out not blood but like some white gunk out of it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and as I was watching it, I was like, it's like, man, there's really not a whole lot of talking in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fight scenes,
Yes.
but there's not a whole lot of like actual plot going on. It's pretty much just like
Hmm.
once a monster dies, like a new one gets sent out, and then like the new battle starts.
Well, it feels like yeah, it could have been like a 30-minute episode of TV and it would have been fine. You
If
know,
you Yeah, if you split this up into like 3 or 4 episodes for like of a TV show, it'd be like, oh yeah, that was great. Just
great story arc.
because it is. I mean, it is like almost episodic because I thought
Mhm,
because it's like he goes and he like he transforms, fights the monster,
mhm,
and then afterwards he untransforms, and then he'll transform again, and then so on and so forth. And it's like I said, we probably see the transformation sequence at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and there's a weird, I guess, plot. There is a weird side spy character, a human that has like become a part of the bad guys.
Well, yeah, because
Um,
he got captured during the laboratory sequence, and
mhm.
there, he's trying to be, helpful or whatever, but he does eventually get brainwashed or whatever you want to call it, and joins the bad guys.
Yeah, so there's them, and then there's like a family dynamic that I just it's very unnecessary because the one made lab dude has like a daughter or
Yeah,
yeah, no, they're all his children. There's just one that's older, right?
yeah, it's like his daughter, and
Uh-huh.
she gets kidnapped as well,
Yeah.
and they're like, he's basically like the Beelzebub is basically saying like, you got to create me my own Inframan, and then I'll let you have your daughter. But he refuses, so he ends up getting captured too.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a great scene where in the middle of this movie of him telling his daughter how much he loves her. Just a weird aside for 5 minutes, just like, oh, you mean a lot to me after your mother died and you took care of the house, and just kind of a silly thing to talk
Well, you
about in the
needed
middle of
that
this movie.
emotional weight
Yeah,
to feel the part. Now
yeah, to understand the scene where the big bug man gets squished. One of my favorite parts of this movie.
oh yeah, so he fights another bug monster, um, because it's like, what do you want? He looks like a spider or like a tick, kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
but
it kind of looks like yeah, maybe like a tick.
lobster spider, kind of.
Yeah, it is a very weird creature, but he can shapeshift. He become big or small.
Yeah, well, he becomes big, and he's just like, oh, now I have the advantage now,
Mhm.
Inframan. And then Inframan's just like, nope, I can grow big too. And just,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so they have like a big, so that's the kaiju battle right there.
No, yeah, there you go. That's what I was thinking. It's like, okay, and they fight in like a power plant, so they're bigger than some buildings. They destroy some buildings.
Still more kaiju fighting than Invasion of the Astro Monster.
Isn't that crazy? This is all original footage from what I can tell. Uh,
Yeah, more more original footage than Gamera the Super Monster.
yeah, it's true. But no, that ending fight is so funny because he gets so much bigger than him that he just squishes him and it like makes the noise and there's like
Makes
just
the
some
noise.
green slime.
Yeah, and he like even like picks up his shoe, and like see like the
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, so you got that fight, and then I guess you got to remember the motorcycle scenes. That there's like a gang that rides around with Inframan, and including Inframan, they all ride motorcycles in like these like desert canyons. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's like the group, or the, because he's like a soldier or whatever, so that's like his platoon or whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Except, Inframan's the leader. Even though
Well,
sometimes he waits a little too late to become Inframan.
yeah, well, because there's some fights where he tries to fight as his regular self,
Hmm.
and I'm like, just turn into Inframan. Like there's that, because that there's no side effects or anything like
Hmm.
negative of like why I'm like, so it's just like, just be Inframan all the time.
I know, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like in another movie, like it would be like, oh, no, it sucks all my power afterwards. I'm just so like it takes my part of my soul. No, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, just be Inframan all the time. Like, you go to bed each night and you're Inframan.
Yeah, in your Inframan pajamas, all wrapped
Yeah,
up.
Infrajamas.
Yes, yeah, we got to make these things if they're not already a thing. I hope Inframan is a household name in China.
Oh, I'm sure it is. People are walking around there. Like this past Halloween, they were all dressed up in Inframan
They've
outfits.
been dressing up as Inframen since the 70s. It's just
They're
tradition.
they're like, we want to dress up as Inframan year round.
Yeah, they call it Inframan Day over there.
uh, but yeah, there's another one that there's like these two twin monsters with like these big like mace looking fists that have it. Some of the powers though for Inframan, because like he'll just like pop out powers like all of a sudden,
Yeah, yeah.
and you never know what he's gonna do. So like all of a sudden he'll jump in the air and he's got these rocket boots
Hmm.
and he can propel himself forward. And apparently he kicks them so hard that they explode.
Yes, yeah. You're absolutely right because I think that happens a few times where they just like he's like, "Oh yeah, this is my new power. I can fight you." That God, it kind of reminds me of the Gamera movies where something can have like 50 billion powers.
It makes me almost like if he can be a like a huge guy, I'm like, why don't you just be like big all the time and just step on all of
Hmm. You're right. You're absolutely right because
them?
those guys can't match your size. No, it only works per fight.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, because he fights like this other one that's like this kung fu master or whatever.
Hmm.
It's like a little demon looking thing,
Hmm.
and like he ends up exploding up that one because he can does like an X or whatever with his hands or arms, and
Hmm.
it shoots out a little beam as well, and so like he just pops those out, and he pretty much beats all of them like pretty handedly. Like I don't ever remember him like
He does not get his he holds his own pretty
yeah, like
easily.
this is like there was no at any point where you're worried that Inframan's gonna lose.
Hmm. Yeah, but I mean that's just part of the movie. I mean, honestly, this movie is just absolute insanity to watch. It's just like one of those movies where it's like, all right, we got a big bad guy fighting, or a big guy fighting bad guys, and I'm gonna just take in the ride.
Yeah, it's very much like it's an experience. I mean we could sit here all day and just
Yeah.
like okay, this part happened and this part happened because there's really not like this big heavy plot or whatever. I mean, it's like guy goes after giant monsters
Hmm.
and he's trying to kill them all. It's kind of like Power Rangers or whatever. And it's a it's a really crazy movie just because just how much special effects. I mean, just the practical effects in the movie. I mean, they're not great looking, but just the scope of like what they're trying to do is really
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, that, and then just the amount of people they get for some fight scenes. There's that big fight scene at the end where it's like just a giant crowd of people fighting all around. The choreography that goes into that with all those extras, that's big. I mean, they like it's cheap, but they had such ambition, and I think that's interesting.
Yeah, it's and like I said, just the explosives in this movie is just insanity. I mean, like somebody made a compilation where it's just like all the exploding scenes in this movie, and I mean, it's crazy. Like, somebody will punch somebody and it'll be like an explosion, or it'll just somebody gets thrown over a railing and they explode, or it just so many explosions all the time. And what I do like though, I mean, they do get like some like martial artists to go in there and do the fights, and the fight choreography is not that bad. It looks pretty decent for the most part.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I would hope that they would the people that make so many kung fu flicks, they can get it down, and then yeah, the fights are pretty good. Um, yeah.
Well, yeah, and they so I mean he does kind of go through like work his way through like all the different monsters. There's like a rock looking monster that he does
Hmm.
kill, and like that one, like that monster too. I they were like it almost seemed like they were like building that one up, or like he was like the most evil of the
Yeah,
henchmen or whatever.
because he talks like he's like, "Oh, let me at him," He's like that kind of like, "Oh, I could take him on."
Yes, and you think like it's gonna be like this big deal, but like when he actually fights him, he pretty much beats him up pretty easily. Like that, there's like
So,
no threat at all.
yep, that's Inframan for you.
Yeah, and then Elzebub is finally it's her turn. What I didn't say is that she can transform into a dragon,
Hmm.
like a bipedal dragon, and she like flies into the scene.
Hmm.
And at the end of this movie, like that's when she shows up, and like when they had the final battle, she turns into a dragon. He just like decapitates her like
Yes,
50 times in a row.
absolutely insane. Yeah, because like it keeps growing back, and you just ching ching, just and then there's a bunch of heads on the ground.
Yeah,
Crazy visual.
yeah, and he does end up exploding her, and then that's That's where it ends pretty much. I mean, like, the main bad guy is dead, and then they go out and they get on a boat, and they're just like, it's over, conflict
Yep,
done.
exactly. It's like, oh, wow. I think the sister is like, oh, with Inframan, there will be no more bad guys.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Um, One thing I do want to say is Roger Ebert originally rated this movie at 2.5 stars,
Okay.
and he said the movie looks good, it's classy, it's a Shaw Brothers movie. When they stop making brother movies like this, a little light's gonna go out. But then years later, he actually upgraded it to 3 stars. He said, I find it to my astonishment that I gave Inframan only 2.5 stars when I reviewed it.
I
It's
was
like
wrong.
it's like I remember a lot of things you wouldn't think you'd remember from it, but I remember he said that I'll bet a month hasn't gone by since I haven't thought of that film.
Well, that's good. I'm glad he enjoyed it.
And because he said the reason why is he rated Mighty Peking Man, he rated that 3 stars. And he
Hmm.
said, I couldn't in good conscience make that movie on a higher tier than Inframan.
Man, that's a man who really cares about his rating system.
Like he put some thought in that. He's like, there's no way I'm going to rate
Uh-huh.
this lower than
But
Infra.
that makes it sound like he's never regretted a rating. Like that was like one of the only time he ever made a rating. It was like,
Can you
no,
imagine? Like that's the
wrong.
one time like he's like, I regretted my rating of Inframan. Like I can't sleep at night knowing that I gave Inframan.
Roger, you're on your deathbed. What's your one regret? Inframan. Should have
um,
been higher.
I didn't ask you this, but did you know about this movie beforehand?
No, no, I knew nothing about this movie. Went in
Okay.
blind.
Well, so this is the second time I've seen this movie,
What?
and the reason why is because it was on James Rolfe's Monster Madness,
Oh wow. Wow. I must have forgotten.
and I picked that one up because I was like, because when I saw the trailer or whatever, like his review, and I just saw how crazy it was, I was like, I gotta see this movie. And sure enough, I loved it a lot. Then I didn't love it as much the second time around, but it's still pretty enjoyable. It's a pretty fun ride. I mean, like I said, it really shows like the technical work that they did, and it does show like some cool fights. It's very action packed like throughout the whole time. There's really not any dull scenes, I would say.
Hmm.
Like I said, is it cheesy? Yeah. So I mean, it's not like it's this perfect masterpiece or anything like that, but it's definitely something I would have a fun time with. And like if I ever got together with friends and showed it to them, I think that would be pretty fun to do.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I don't think I loved it. I think I would have liked a little bit stronger of a plot, but as far as the fights go, stunts, I think that's fun. So like it's a light recommend. I think if you're looking for like just something silly to watch, it's not a bad choice, but don't expect anything substantial from this one.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair
Hmm.
assessment. I agree with that.
Hmm.
But that's going to do it for Inframan. So, Nathan, what are we going to be talking about next time?
All right. Well, Ryan, there's a huge movie coming out. It's very soon at the end of November. And it's a sequel, and I want to go back and I want to check it out. Okay. So what's coming out is Gladiator 2. So why don't we go back and watch Gladiator from 1992? And that one is streaming over on on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I'm so excited. I get to see Russell Crowe. I get to see
Oh,
Joaquin Phoenix.
wait, Brian Dennehy and Cuba Gooding Jr.
Well, yeah, like when Cuba Gooding Jr. and Brian Dennehy fight in gladiator gear.
That's
That's
one
like,
of the best scenes
I
ever.
mean, that's why they gave it the Oscar. They're just like best
Hmm.
picture right here.
Yeah, I need that context. But Ryan, what are we going to be covering on Thursday?
So, Nathan, we are once again going to be covering another romance movie for this month.
Hmm.
So, other than romance, Nathan, what do people think about this time of year?
Uh, I don't know. I can't think of anything. Duke Mitchell.
No,
Oh,
Nathan. We go over this all the time, Nathan. It's Elliot Gould, of course.
I should have said it. I say it every other time.
So,
God.
so we're going to be doing another Elliot Gould movie where it's about him as a Vietnam veteran.
Oh,
And it's going to be
MASH.
no. Wait, well, there's something funny I need to say for that episode, so remind me about that. But
Okay.
but no, Nathan, it's going to be this movie called Getting Straight, and it's going to be from 1970, and it is for free on Freevee, Pluto TV, Roku channel. It's all there for you to see.
Awesome. I'm excited.
I bet you are. You've been thinking about this for a while,
Yeah.
but
I love gold.
thank you so much for listening to us. Please be sure to send us an email over at drive-in-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on X at DIDFpod. And once again, check out the Patreon at patreon.com/drive-in-double-feature-podcast. But till next time.
Until next time.